Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Welcome into Discover Crypto. I am the Druth, and today we have some crazy news that just broke, but price has not started reacting yet. One of the largest economies on the planet in the United States here is now ready to buy our bags, folks. This is huge. Bitcoin buys for strategic reserves are real. They are coming. Also, a new Fed chair being circulated, a name that we've heard before, that we're going to take a look at this fella, see what we think of him, and of course, take a look at all of the different movements within the altcoins. I got one of my favorite co-hosts on the planet, if not the best man, with the memes on hand, Mr. Kelly Killam. How are you feeling, my man?
Well, let's just say I'm a man from Texas, and everything's bigger in Texas. And
are you really from Texas?
Yeah, born and raised, baby.
Oh, snap. Okay. Okay.
So that might not seem like it matters to you tuning in right now, but we have a hell of a story, as Drew just pointed out. One of the largest, and it's not just the U.S., one of the largest economies in the world is buying some Bitcoin and adding it to a strategic reserve. Is this going to be that sort of domino that starts the race between other major states? I mean, you know, you have to remember states in the United States like Texas, which has a major oil hub, amongst a lot of other just economic delivery that they do. Their GDP is incredibly strong. It's larger than most countries' GDP out there. So this is akin to a country adding Bitcoin to a strategic reserve. Now, does this mean prices has to boom today from this? No, it doesn't. This is one of those reasons why the technical charts look so damn bearish. And you ask me, Kelly, why are you bullish on 2026? Because the dominoes are falling. And the fundamental shift right now is saying, strap your ass in, because we've got a lot of tailwinds that are really filling up that sail. And I think we're going to be seeing some beautiful bullishness into 2026.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. We bull posted enough for them to, and it was the green background again. You know, I was doing some mysticism. Someone said I saved the bull market yesterday with the green background, so I'm trying to keep it going. Ooh, Drew for 2028. I like it. Now make sure, guys, give me a follow on X if you're not already. I'm up to shenanigans on there. Drew Crypto. I did find something quite incredible. Okay, I went to Tractor Supply. They have literal spears. Okay, this is an actual spear from SOG, SOG. I was seeing some whispers. Me and the boys leaving Tractor Supply. I was seeing, is this real? I had to go investigate for myself. Now I got to have a spear workout at the gym. It might get awkward, I understand, but I'm here for it. Now, we are going to bring up a buddy of the channel that's got always some great insight on Bitcoin. But another thing we got to check out before we get into the Bitcoin price action is this. Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent says that there's a very good chance Trump is going to announce a new Fed chair before Christmas. Now, you see further reports. Kevin Hassett, now in Trump's top choices to replace Jerome Powell as the Federal Reserve Chair. Now, I want to clarify some things. This doesn't mean that Jerome Powell is going to be kicked out before his expected departure from the Federal Reserve. So this isn't a boot up the butt to Jerome Powell, kicking him out of the Federal Reserve and putting someone in place quicker than we thought. This is essentially Trump picking from his top picks. Kevin, he is someone that's been connected to the Trump administration previously, but you know what? So was Jerome Powell last. You remember Trump brought Jerome Powell in 2016 presidency.
Well, I mean, not only that, I mean, consider, let's go back in time when Janet Yellen got her position when she was appointed. Well, they didn't just appoint her on the day she went in. They appointed her 3 or 4 months earlier, but it's made it known that she was going to be the one that was going to take that chair. And so with this, It's not like something that's super out of the norm that he's, I would say it's a tad bit earlier, but I would say that lends also to something very bullish for everybody looking at these markets going into the midterm election cycle next year. And that is that Trump is trying to pull out all stops. It's not this chart right here.
I was waiting for it.
Trump is going to pull out all stops on the edge of everything that's even decent to make sure that this economy is running hot and that the market is running hot. So while we are in a dip, and yes, even right now with the slight little price action we're seeing to the upside, you can go to this chart now. We are seeing signs and signals that we're going to get some sort of bounce. We finally got that flip into the red, but you still need to be cautious here. I'm bullish on 2026. It doesn't mean we still can't go down and wipe everybody out that's just being irrational here and going 30x long, and then they go out and wash them out down to 74, 78, somewhere in that region. So while I'm bullish, I'm still constructively like I'm hesitant here to say just go all in, because that's always a stupid decision. You need to be a bit careful here, because I do think there's some chop that's still afoot.
Yeah, and there's more reports. You're talking about Trump pulling all stops, that the stimulus check is something that they're pushing really, really hard for. It does look like Trump's trying to pull it off.
Me. Come on, get it in the markets, baby.
Trump has an ego bigger than anyone, maybe the biggest on planet Earth. And he said he's going to give a stimulus. If he doesn't follow through with it, he's going to have a big old egg on his face. I'm betting that he's actually going to make sure that the stimulus does make it out over the next few months. But I'm curious in the chat, like, do you guys think that the stimulus is actually going to come? 1 for yes or 2 for no? Because we've seen a bunch of lies. We've been told a bunch of lies continuously in politics. Trump's been promising this second round of stimulus. He's almost turning into the stimulus president. 1 for yes, check, yes, stimmy. 2 for no, just another psyop.
Something really interesting. Digital Asset News posted this earlier, and it's kind of funny. So we tariff American companies, which means we make American companies pay for imports of goods, which are then sold to American citizens. We then take the funds from those American companies and give them to the citizens. Basically, Bernie Sanders must love it. And if you kind of think about it, it was as a capitalistic socialism with the mix of dollar devaluation and disenfranchisement. It feels, I mean, I don't even know what to make of what's going on the world stage anymore, but I know that Bitcoin's here. And so I'm trying to take that exit ramp in any way I can.
Yeah, Bitcoin's really simplified my voting process. You know, I'm black-pilled to the point of no return. Bitcoin and being outside of the Federal Reserve is an easy move. And we're constantly fed lies about how the economy is doing. But we did get this data come out this morning. The PPI inflation rate rose to 2.7% above expectations. Core PPI inflation fell down to 2.6 below their 2.7 expectations. So kind of vice versa there. And the inflation remains less of a problem than the weakening labor market. Kobayashi letter actually thinking that this is pointing to a more higher likelihood that we're going to see some interest rate cuts.
Well, but dude, on that note, I have one chart for everybody that kind of exemplifies why the markets have felt so choppy. If you don't understand what this is, just take a gander. The blue is no change. The orange is actually getting the Fed rate cut. Look at the swings here from 7% no change up to 76%, back down to 13. Now, this might seem inconsequential to you all, but major investors out there, major players, I'm talking in the hundreds of billions into the massive money that's out there. They're looking at every different potential of where markets are going to go and how to best position themselves. This is like, hey, risk is coming back in. This is, hey, we're still a little bit hesitant. And so we've seen the swing in the data that's bringing this sort of risk expectation or risk off expectation completely flip-flop twice in the last month, which kind of explains a little bit of people going, I don't know what the hell's going on, Steve.
Yeah, pretty much. And there's a lot of uncertainty. One of the voices of reason in this world, one of my favorite chartists, Piano Matty B, I'm hoping he can bring some clarity to this situation. Mr. Matty B, first of all, how you doing this morning?
Oh, what a treat it is to be alive in this very bizarre time on Earth, right? This is like, we always talk about how great it was for the boomers and that little Goldilocks phase, but we are living through the most transformative time in human history. Like we're on the verge of AI. It's incredible. What a time.
Yep, absolutely. And it's almost like been a DDoS attack on our attention spans. We just had many weeks in a row of nasty, nasty downward price action. It's kind of funny saying this, but we crashed all the way down to 80,000 bucks. Matty B, you brought up this kind of descending channel a while back. Can you give us your viewpoint? Because I've seen like we've had a trading quant, which has helped me short the market on the way down. But this weekend, it seemed like things were trying to catch their footing, and I've had a couple successful longs this morning. What are you seeing out there on the charts right now, brother? The tides are changing on us.
Well, I think what we're in now is it's a unicorn type of phase. It's a positive catch-22, and usually catch-22 is a problem because there's no upside. But that we are in a catch-22 with upside everywhere. So, for instance, if your bags are packed, and if you've been listening to Discover Crypto and Blockchain Basement for the past 2 years, I would assume your bags are packed. If they're not packed, you're still lucky, because if the price goes down, you can maybe get the exposure you couldn't have got if this took off to the moon, right? But if your bags are packed and it goes down, well, great, your bags are packed already. But let's say that your bags are packed and it just goes to the moon. You don't got to do anything. You literally got to sit on your hands and wait for the market to move. I know it's easier said than done. You got to take your vitamin P and your patience and everything, but that's it. Just sit on your hands and watch the price go up.
Yeah. Where we at right now is that I had to start to shift my mindset because I was expecting a plate check at $70,000 at some point. Now, that almost dead cat bounce potential is something I have to acknowledge as we get towards the middle of this week. Something that really changed for me was we had woken up, I think 8 weeks in a row, and Wall Street just dumped us hard. Dumped the price of Bitcoin on Monday, and then it started to regain some footing and then just fell even harder the next week after. Yesterday, you saw a very different movement from Wall Street. Is there, like, how insane would it be to hope for a $70,000 entry point on Bitcoin? Like, are we already back to the races right now, in your opinion?
Well, I tell you what I'm expecting is I've been talking about this bull market rejection zone for a while because it happens every bull market, right? And you can see where the little peepers are here. This is it. It's a 38.2% fib. And what that is pulling it from the all-time high 126 down to our new low of 80K. You get the 38.2% fib at 98-ish. And what we generally do is we have a relief rally that will kind of cook up to 98K. And this is where everyone on my channel has been trained ad nauseum to keep your eyes on, because this is where we want to blow past. Now, if we blow past 98K, and this is on this is the daily, the weekly, it's the same 98K. If we blow past it, then the probabilities of us going much higher are very likely. Now, if we get rejected here, like we have in all previous bull runs, we have an all-time high. We have a 30% plow down that gives everyone, everyone starts packing their bags. Then we have a relief rally where everyone starts revving up. And you could see how the narrative around 100K would start becoming so bullish, right? Oh, we're back, baby. We're back, baby. And I know in the past couple of weeks, this has been a higher rejection zone because we had a higher low. So now that we put in a new one at 80K, we had to adjust it. It's now at 90K. So if you're looking at the charts every day like we all are, and we get to see this pump, when and if we get to see it, keep your eyes on 98. And believe me, I know I say this all the time. I don't want to be right on this. I want it to blow past 98K, close the candle above. That's really all I'm asking for from the gods of this market.
Not too much.
Just close the candle above 98K for Christ's sake. And then we're off to the races. But again, If that doesn't happen, we get a rejection zone. Man, you have the opportunity of a lifetime, because I know most people are sitting here thinking, oh, I'll never get close to a Bitcoin. Let's say it goes down in this year, which is historically, 2026 is historically the cycle bottom. Now you have the opportunity of a lifetime to maybe accumulate more sats than you ever dreamed of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'd love to get your take on this. At the same time, again, I see the technical bearishness, but then I feel like there's, I don't want to say this time's different. I feel like the data is suggesting a fundamental sort of divergence here. We're seeing retail exiting. We're seeing some changing of the guard amongst whales, but we're also seeing the whales stacking en masse into this massive dip that we've seen. We're also seeing data like this with more than 8% of all Bitcoin moved in the last 7 days. The last two times this happened, March 2020 when Bitcoin was at $5,000 and December 2018 when Bitcoin was at $3,500. Those were both lows of those modes right here, these two zones. So on the one hand, I do not want to distract from the actual bearish setup that is there with bearish divergences, with the fact that we have gone down so precipitously. We have to be very cautious on the way up. 98K, 105K, 118K, all of those areas we really need to watch. But we also didn't ever have institutions stacking like this, in addition to the fact of the changing structure of the crypto market. I just want to talk about this for just a second. Yeah. Because prior to 2017, like 2013, 2014, 2015, to get anything else, and there wasn't many options, you had to get Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the gateway, and then you could get other things. You could trade out of Bitcoin for Dogecoin and Ethereum when that came in and stuff like that. But then you had Ethereum really take the sort of mainstay there, the stage. And as the ICO season came in 2017, you had to get ETH or Bitcoin, but primarily ETH to get all these to get involved in the ICOs, to get access to many of these other coins. And so this cycle, we don't really have that. We have all these different access points, all these different pairs, all these different ways to navigate the system and enter from whatever coin you want from fiat, many different fiats out there. So this is at the same time, institutions are stacking like a mofo. And so while I do look at the previous cycles and it's like, yes, 2026 should be bearish based on those cycles, I also see the shifting landscape. And this is why I've said, I feel like we're in a tale of two divergences, massive technical divergence, but overwhelming bullish fundamental divergence. I'm just curious your take on that, Piano Medibeat.
Yeah, the bullish fundamentals are absolutely wild. I don't think there's ever been a time in Bitcoin's history when we had so many bullish fundamentals stacking up. And it's really quite easy. So we will know if the cycle's broken by one simple metric. 2026 hits an all-time high. That's it. There's just one more metric to click off, and then we'll all know. There'll be no discussion. Everyone will go from, I don't know if it's broken, I'm not sure if it's broken, to bang, it's broken immediately. So it's really just one thing to keep your eyes on.
I'm betting it's broken. I got my money on the table. I've taken some bets with some people. Because think about how we had to open the show. Texas, one of the biggest economies on the planet, is now actively buying Bitcoin. They have beat the federal government to the punch in buying Bitcoin. And this is the cascading effect that I needed to see. I needed to see those tangible purchases. Yeah, we've rolled back to a bit, but it was even last year at the beginning of it, I was like, the government's going to wait till 2026. They're going to wait for some cooling off. They're going to wait for the 4-year maximalist to think that they've outsmarted BlackRock and the US Gov and Saudis and all these other countries. And then they're just going to hammer into it while everyone's thinking that they got a whole year to accumulate. I got my money on the line in this regard.
Well, on that same note, though, the majority of the market is feeling like this. Like all these altcoin holders out there have just been enduring. It's gotta come at some point, and it feels like it's never going to. In fact, I'm starting to see people think that there's not going to be any sort of real alt sort of breakout. But then you see the Bitcoin dominance setting up in this massive head and shoulders with a rejection at basically this EMA ribbon wave right in here. It feels like Bitcoin's the star of the show, and it is. Ethereum is up there as well, Chainlink, but nothing's moving like we want, yet we're seeing charts saying just hold on longer. And how much longer are people willing to hold on?
I want to talk
there's
about
one
that.
there's one change that you can't really fade, is that we have a new whale in the market, and it's retarded. It's the government. So we have a retarded whale who knows not of cycles, right? It doesn't know of a 4-year cycle. As far as they're concerned, they're walking into the market thinking now we own it. Now it's ours. So they're going to execute on their own timeline. They're not like, so historically whales were like, okay, now it's time to sell. Okay, now it's time to buy. But the new retarded whale is just walking in here, guns blaring. And so all bets are really off if they start to execute their plan, whatever their plan is. When you look back at that your first picture was with the new potential Fed chairhead, that is a giga Chad. That's like showing your girlfriend the new girlfriend that's coming down in 3 months, right in live time. Like, it's the ultimate in giga chatting. Now it's the opinion of this piano that the true Trumpian move will be to put one of his kids in.
Oh, for sure. But then, you go on to, I mean, did you guys know that Joaquin Phoenix actually prepared for his role as the Joker by holding Ethereum for 4 years at $3,000? Everybody is still holding on to, I wonder if everybody's still holding on so long to this sort of altcoin narrative that it's only going to crush for another year. I mean, like, crush those spirits and it never happens like they think. And then we see a monster move in 2027, or if we're actually going to start seeing some popcorning, which we have seen this last year, but are we going to see some popcorning with some real new highs beyond just moving from a low like we saw with Solana?
We need to talk about something in this regard for sure, because people are in the chat. I see a such it. Give us some good info about Chainlink, please. Here's the good info about Chainlink. It's cheap. It's locked up the entire crypto space, the White House for economic data, and SWIFT for international payments from bank to bank. It's locked those positions in, and it's cheap. You have a combination of good things going on for Chainlink. And when I get asked, like, what's the safest altcoin? There is no safe altcoin, but there is a handful of coins that I think are absolutely here to stay beyond Bitcoin. Those, in my opinion, are Ethereum, Chainlink, and Solana. Chainlink and Solana, and even Ethereum, arguably, are pretty damn cheap right now. That's the good news. The bad news is most people don't have the balls to buy it. So I just wanted to retort on that, because I constantly get asked for good news about Chainlink. The entire crypto sector basically is connected through Chainlink's data services. I don't know how much more of a monopoly on information and the new oil data that we could possibly find out of a project, right? There's been a lot of speculations. Ondo, I sold, bought a couple hard iron goods with it. I got out of Cardano. I just saw a bunch of problems with these other projects. Chainlink is the only one outside of Solana ecosystem, and then base ecosystem that I'm even feeling like buying at this point. So, I maybe that's too brutal of an answer for you if you're looking for good news from me, but it's the truth. And I don't know what else do people want. Like, this is the thing, is they'll come in by the droves when we're screaming into all-time highs. They chase green candles. And then I'm the bad guy because they bought the top and they didn't listen to me years ago, right? That's the pain that I go through. And I come here every single day. I am happy to experience lower prices on Bitcoin, Chainlink, Ethereum, and Solana. Give it to me. I'm a savage.
Dude, and look at Chainlink. I mean, Chainlink coming down to these levels, great. What does the data say? This is on the 3-day chart. The last times RSI has been at this level was before this major move. This level before this major move. We're back at this level again, and this is a higher low, by the way, and had a massive outflow of money flow here, and the price still held up. I'd say that this is, we've been talking about this for a year and a half through BitLab Academy. That's not the right chart right there. There we go. Maintaining this level of support all the way through with just a little bit of a deviation down. I feel like, to me, this is more of a setup, massive bear trap. Because at the same time, where's that other chart? At the same time, we're seeing some rollover on the dollar index right now, too, with the back and forth. I know we're going to go into it with Russia and Ukraine and all this, But remember this morning when Bitcoin and everything started seeing a little bit of a rise, same time we're seeing the dollar fall out of a major downtrend resistance. It's been there all the way since back here, a 3-year trend. And now we're pinched between an 18-year trend and a 3-year trend. I think things are going to get very bad or very good. And it's looking more like the conditions with all the stimulus that are not just the US. I'm talking China, I'm talking Japan, I'm talking the Eurozone. There's massive stimulus packages that are out there that mean money printing, and the US included, which I think would likely see this pinch into here. And I think we're going to break this to the downside.
Whew, God, I think we need to go full. Well, I mean, we're that top line, that top trend line, you have not moved, and seeing that W pattern was sketchy. What I'm sitting here sweating underneath this cowboy hat about is hoping that we see the drop down, which is kind of inverse because,
but
you
dude, right here where this bounced, rejected, and then came down.
Mm-hmm.
This is, when this was this small movement. This small movement is representative on Bitcoin as this movement right here. That's from 73 all the way up here to $126,000.
Yeah.
So that was the low at that same level when the dollar broke that level.
Yeah. And I got to acknowledge the crazy sketchy rumors that are going around right now. And Matty V, I want to run this by and get your vibe on it. So Shinaka put this out about a $48 billion math error for Strategy. It's a very viral post that's claiming that Strategy's Bitcoin empire is about to implode. Essentially, it's saying that it's about 90 days due to a massive $48 billion error. Essentially, the numbers on the 649,000 Bitcoin holdings, tiny cash pile, and a large amount of preferred dividends, and that the software business of Strategy is bleeding money. These things, there's not much falsehood within that. This is pulled directly from their Q3 earnings and the SEC filings. But the idea that they can't survive, right? That Strategy can't survive. He's called, essentially there's a lot of calls that it's a Ponzi scheme that could collapse. There's basically a lot of opinion about this and the risks of MSCI and the index. And it's been something that's kind of bothered me, just seeing the size of bag Strategy and BlackRock have acquired all along the way. I've been bothered by this all along the way. You've been talking about Strategy for quite some time, Matty B, I believe well before even the mega pump. Do you have any major concerns bubbling up internally about Saylor and his strategy, where they're at right now, in your opinion?
I do. One of my problems is that he's not part of the club, right? So there's a small concentric circle of power and money that a lot of these hedge funds are a part of. Unfortunately, Michael Saylor's not a part of that club. So I've always said when this type of money comes into a market, it comes in to dominate. And so if they're all from a small concentric circle of power and money and they're trying to dominate Bitcoin, and they have this bane of their existence as Michael Saylor, who arguably is one of the strongest forces in Bitcoin, accumulating, I think they're going to FUD the F out of him to put pressure on the price. Because what you got to realize is that the retail we did get here, and I know you know what I'm talking about when I talk about the retail. The retail we got here is boomer retail, the worst type of retail, because they're the ones that are watching all these stupid shows, CNBC, and nodding their head. So when the propaganda comes at them super hard, when they see Chamath Palihapitiya with all these FUD everywhere, they're not on X, they just get it from the TV, right? They believe it hook, line, and sinker, and they phone their financial advisor that's been ripping them off for the past 60 years. And he's like, you convinced me to get into Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. Well, guess what? Get me the F out of here. I can't stand this 30% swing. I get it, why they can't handle a 30% swing, but that's the type of retailer we're dealing with. But then again, you deserve what you get. So if you FUD yourself out of Strategy or Bitcoin because of propaganda, you deserve to lose.
Yeah. And now your thoughts were exactly what were in my brain when my wife woke me up, she's the price oracle. She's the crypto oracle. She woke me up. She sent me a bunch of messages, warned people about strategy. So I peeled back a bunch of layers and I found out who owns strategy. Now, the insider small cap circle that you did just mention does own small portions of strategy, be it BlackRock, State Street, but they're only like 3 to 4% positions. They're not 10% positions, so should we maybe heighten the concern if we see State Street and BlackRock pull out, or maybe they'd be willing to sacrifice their investments into strategy to get a private company and they're stacking your 700,000 Bitcoin out of the way? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think maybe the end game would be for them to be able to pick up MicroStrategy at 10 cents on the dollar, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, it's never been easier to decipher propaganda as it is now. From when you take COVID till now, it's super easy. Whatever the mainstream legacy TardFi industry is throwing at you, you just do the opposite. So if they're saying that MicroStrategy is toxic and you got to get out of here, and then they've got all these things that are on the books that are shitty, right? Well, just do the opposite. Anything that's coming from the TardFi industry is basically Jim Cramer with a different suit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's understandable, the timing of the FUD. It comes with the fear. Kelly, where is the fear and greed index that we're looking at right now? What are these levels? Where are we at?
I mean, we've just been riding in peak fear. And I'll remind you, I think I still have it up somewhere there. I don't know. We have whales stacking in. This is a story of why retail generally loses. There's a great episode of Seinfeld where George realizes he's always making stupid decisions. So he starts doing the opposite of everything that he's thinking. And all of a sudden his life becomes great. Every one of you, ask yourself, are your finances and are your investments doing exactly what you want? If not, then why aren't you changing your strategy? Because whales are stacking into fear on each of these levels, even all the way through these levels down here. We've been in this sort of peak fear zone for, basically the majority of this month. I mean, just 20 and below. We hit as low as 14, 11, all the way, now we're back at 20, but we're still in that emotional capitulation window, which is proven to very regularly be a great time to buy, or back to what you said, sit on your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one of my favorite charters, he put up this kind of doomer vision for Ethereum. If you want a long, he's looking at long, and then I'm out here trading. I am crazy trading. I actually have a new partner. If you guys want to trade and get a part of this $10,000 basket of bucks you can grab, we got a link in the description to trade with 2bit. But I'm actively trading right now. I'm longing and shorting within the day. I'm scalp trading. I'm in and out of the positions very quickly because there's no concise movement up or down on the markets. He's given a watch out for Ethereum at kind of a scary level, about right around $2,600, right? Running into the old volume node there. Something a little bit different, though, is happening on that Bitcoin dominance chart that Kelly showed earlier, though. And this is where it's so scary to think that people would just be fudded by massive institutions completely out of the bag, and then institutional run-up would happen in 2026. Because that's where the little guy really loses, right? They think they sold the top, and then they end up seeing this thing continue to fall while Bitcoin regains its power here. Maddie, have you looked at the Bitcoin dominance graph? Because it's doing a head and shoulders thing I've been doing male astrology on for quite some time. Bitcoin's kind of losing out. Ethereum's showing a little bit more strength on the charts right now. Even as we speak, Ethereum held up at 2,800. Bitcoin, the downturn, much sharper. Like, what is your opinion on if alt season is just never going to come?
I don't think it is going to come. And when it does come, it's going to be in a different wrapper. So to me, technical analysis is what I call mom's rules. you know, the day-to-day lunches at 12, dinners at 6 to make your bed before you go to school. But then there's dad rules, which are the fundamentals. So you can have a head and shoulders or an inverse head and shoulders or a bull flag or a bear flag or bullish divergence, bearish divergence, all you want. Those are all what mom said to do. And we're going to listen to what mom says, kind of, right? But then when dad comes home and says, all right, dinner's over, we're going out for a steak. Well,
That's right.
Everything's different, right? Then all the TA in the world doesn't mean anything because dad came home and made new rules. So I do like TA is the backbone of my channel, but I'm always open to the fundamentals. They're going to change everything. So if we see Bitcoin dominance continue to go down, I don't even think that will pull up a alt season because I think we have major leagues and we have farm leagues now. So we have the Bitcoin and the institutions and maybe some of the treasury companies, maybe if you really want to include them in the major leagues. And then we have the farm teams. And I think most of the only coins, I call it, they're going to be in the farm team and they'll have their own entire life, but it will be on a different playing field, I think.
Well, you know what's scary about this too. Hucky posted, he said, guys, it's all going to be repriced. And I think about this regularly. When we look at the valuation, even in the top 50, especially when things are near highs or higher than they are now, you know, as we saw December last year, March the year before that with these run-ups, you look at the valuations and market cap and, you know, things get into the tens of billions of dollars for something that doesn't even have every promise they've made about what their intentions are really even deployed. It makes you wonder how overvalued things were just because of the speculative hype of how, you know, what was going to be deployed and people catching that. What if the bull market for some of these alts is not it running up, but it's getting repriced as it should have been falling, but it's actually just maintaining a sort of, you know, it feels level, but a slow burn up because the speculative reasoning, the thesis behind speculating on many of these is starting to evaporate because people are realizing there's not all this free capital to go into this boom and bust every 3 years like everybody's hoping.
Yeah. We're dying less on altcoins, right? And that feels good, right? We actually meant to cover a project yesterday that came out. There's a lot of hype about it. Is named Monad. So this is the actual chart. I don't know. You must have found some other chart named Monad yesterday, but Monad is actually looking pretty decent. And some of the more based accounts that I'm buddies with on X are in on Monad. They're feeling good about it. This is Blue Collar Dangerous. Huge shout out to you. One of the more based people on the X platform. He's doing well with this Monad move, and he took this snapshot about 0.36. Let's check it out. So it's even higher than that snapshot. There has been love. There has been love, undeniable love to pockets of altcoins. Like we got to kind of digest what's happened. So the speculation on AI, front end of 2024, like Kelly just mentioned, all the ICP, the near projects, everything that was adjacent to AI did like a 5, sometimes 10x. Then the end of 24, AI agents, 10, 20x, some of them 30x, some of them 100x. Now we're looking at a situation where, you know, it was either an early alt season, which I harvested a boatload of profit off of, mind you, which is why I'm not wiggling around in this pullback. But there is movement. And I think that it's just a changing of narratives. It's hard to move with the narratives. And that's why I like this Monad project. You know, there is a lot of hype behind it. I am a greedy investor, and sure, I would take a stab at it if we hit like, you know, the midpoint here, but I got to see a few weeks of data because even though we had the different chart up yesterday, Kelly brought up something very, very important. If you didn't invest into a project pre-release and you see it released, give it a week or two to see what the price action actually does. Give it a little bit of moment for those insiders to dump all over the people that are hammering into it at day 1 and day 2, day 3, because that does happen often. And maybe it's just because I'm jaded here in crypto, but I exercise restraint when I see new projects going like this. I see a lot of accounts pushing for Monad. I'm not going to be one of those, but I am going to be watchful of this project to see if it actually has strength in the price chart. Not that I'm averse to buying new altcoins. I have to see something really tangible with them to drive my interest forward about it. That is, just be careful out there. Maddie, you've seen all of these narratives go by and you've observed them as a very focused Bitcoin analysis, Bitcoin holder. Are altcoin people delusional outside of XRP? I already know your answer there, but are altcoin holders completely delusional?
No, I don't think they are, and this is a common fallacy. But this is where I like to kind of time travel. I wish I could tell myself a couple things maybe 4 to 6 years ago, and the reason why we see people getting seduced by the concept of a 100x or a 10x in an altcoin or a meme coin is because it's easy money and it starts to tap into one of our human fallacies, which is a gambler's fallacy, which is the odds are I'll eventually win. And now I think what happened to me, which made me somewhat, I'm not a Bitcoin max, I'm just a human minimalist, and all these only coins are run by humans and humans fail. But I think when I look back at my mistakes, I could call them all a misallocation of resources. So the reason why generally all altcoins will be a misallocation of resources is that it's one, you got to be lucky to get into one, right? That's the ultimate luck. And then you got to be smart enough to get out with a profit. So now we're having some compounding issues of luck, right?
Yes.
And so let's say you do get lucky, and let's say you put in $1,000, right? And boom, all of a sudden, some only coin starts going 100K or 100X. And you're just riding it. You've never been on this ride. You don't know that the ride's going to end. No one ever thinks the ride's going to end. And then it ends. And now you're back in the weeds and you're like, well, it went here once. It can come here again. And then 4 years later, it's basically been a $1,000 piggy bank if it doesn't go beneath your cost basis. So it's been a misallocation of resources when you just kind of could have put it into Bitcoin at any given time. 4 years later, it's generally up. Now, it might not be 100x, it might not be sexy enough, to get you out of bed, but you're still ahead of the game.
Yeah. I mean, my mindset's just to gain more Bitcoin with the altcoins, not to have my altcoin replace Bitcoin. And I think that's where some of the disillusionment comes from. That comes into play when people round trip bags. They have those highs, they go all the way back down. They're not willing to buy more. They just want to get back up to that previous all-time high. This is just something to think about. This is really something to think about here. So I really, I took offense to this meme. Okay, first of all, but it's true, right? But I'm scalp trading and I'll take 20-30% gains on my bag all day long. Where you get in trouble is where you're up. You don't protect the profits. You say, hey, I'm never going to close this trade again. I'm never going to have to work again. If I just leave this open, what could go wrong? And then it all goes wrong. So this is, oh Lord. But what am I going to do? Leave my money in the dollar and just watch it for sure depreciate over the next 10, 20 years? That's where we're at such a weird time. It's like there's active taxation on real estate, higher taxes year over year. They're pushing for higher taxes year over year. Insurance is getting more expensive, and all of the places that my parents and the generations before me were able to park money in don't really look like the best option for me right now. This is why I'm looking at crypto, AI, nuclear power. I'm investing in nuclear power on Wall Street side for sure. I'm diversified, but I cannot let my money be lazy because it will slowly degrade and my buying power will decrease very, very heavily. Like at 10% over the year's time frame, that's a whole lot of money. If I had 100K a year ago, now I got $88,000 worth of buying power. As the price of goods increase, that's a lose-lose situation.
But dude, not only that, I mean, people forget they have more capital than they realize. It comes with decisions that we make every day. I feel stupid over the last month or so because I've been getting these coffees from this awesome coffee spot near my place, and I realize you do the math on it. You do the math on getting a coffee from Starbucks or Caribou Coffee, wherever you're going. If you're spending $7, $8, $10 a day, and you do that 5 days a week and you extrapolate that over 52 weeks a year, that's a small vacation that you could have gone on instead of having coffee.
It's much worse than that.
Yeah.
Are you teaching your boy about compound interest or any of that stuff yet, Matty B? Because I've started the process with the son and the daughter. How do you approach it?
It started with the coffee, right? Because my niece and nephew, they always go to a Starbucks and get like the $6 mocha frappa latte bullshit, right? Every whipped cream. There's just health-wise, they're so shitty. So I, started grokking. What would a $6 a day coffee do in 16 years, right? I know that's a long time. So I don't got 16 years. Yeah, you're going to be drinking coffee every day for 16 years. So listen to this. One cup of coffee at $6 is $21.90 a year. Now, if you were to put $21.90 into Bitcoin, now we're going to assume some things, and this is a changing variable, but we're just going to optimistically say a 50% CAGR. Now, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's less. 2025, we'll be lucky if it's 1%, right? But on the average, it's been about 50%. If that maintains out into 16 years, you'll have well over $1 million, almost $2 million just by taking that one $6 cup of coffee and putting it into Bitcoin once a year. That's mind-blowing. Now it gets even scarier because I'm not a big fan of college or universities. I think it's a misallocation of resources. So let's do that pattern. $8,000 a year up in here in Canada. I know it's way more in the States, but in Canada, in Winnipeg, where I live, you go to university here, it's $8,000. You do that for 12 years instead of putting it into, not that you're going to go to school for 12 years, but let's say you're a bartender for 12 years. Making as much as a dentist, just slinging drinks, and you're able to put what is $8,000 a year, $750 a month into a Bitcoin, but you're deploying it once a year, January 1st, bang. In 12 years, you have $3 million.
Absolutely. My kids have like a $10 a week allowance, and it'll go to 15 a week, once they go over 10 years old. And just a 4% growth on that money, not even with Bitcoin, just a basic easy yield of 4%. My boy would have enough money to get a nice car by the time he's 16. So I started showing him that information, and it's starting to click. But the funny part is my kids are so interested in digital assets on these video games. Right. It's a tough thing to break, but that's something that I'm having to teach him, and I make mistakes. I want to give a shout out to my pops here. Is he actually saving money by not smoking cigarettes? Let me see here.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say he's switching to Geico.
No, he would never. No, he would never. That's really surprising.
$600 a month. That's almost $8,000 a year.
Yeah,
what is that? $7,200 a year.
Absolutely.
That's $3 million in 12 years. $3 million. So now, like, you take a look at a 20-year-old. Like, imagine this. Go back to when you're 20 and you got advice of investing $8,000 a year. By the time you're 32, you have $3 million. Now, the CAGR will change, obviously. Maybe you rotate into something else.
He clarified. Okay, hold on.
You are banned!
It was fun while it lasted.
Unbelievable. My hopes were there for you. We got to cover some altcoin movements here too, though. Other things are happening with Pump.fun. So Pump.fun cashed out $436 million in USDC since October 15th. They deposited the money into Kraken during the same period. 537 million of USDC flowed from Kraken to Circle through a specific wallet. Between May 24 and August of 25, Pump.fun sold a total of 4.9 million Solana, worth nearly $1 billion, 750 million, at an average price of $181 a token for Solana. Of that amount, 264,000 Solana were dumped on chain for $41.6 million, while 3.9 million Solana, nearly $1 billion again, was deposited into Kraken. This is some of the pain I feel Solana goes through, because Solana, I feel very good about the long-term outlook, and it's kind of a 20-headed hydra. It's got the meme coin lock, it's got DeFi, it's got AI agents, AI infrastructure. All of these different things are happening on Solana, but its success and the way it gets such success is part of the things that keeps it down, which is why we just saw a deflationary move. The Solana Foundation is trying to make less Solana inflation happen to help bolster the price. And in this massive pullback, like I'm a big buyer if I can see Solana in this original pump 2/support zone at about $85. If I do get this thing near $100, I'm going to be pretty pleased about that. But Solana, staking mechanisms of it, they're hitting Wall Street soon. And the streak of inflows on those ETFs have been very, very good for Solana. It looks like unbroken streak of daily inflows, topped off by a record day of inflows, is being pretty underappreciated right now. So Solana's out there having fun. It is an American-based blockchain as well, and it has American infrastructural intention. I saw someone with the chat from the Rumble account. Buying energy is wise. Everything being pushed needs power. NNE. He's bringing up one of the picks, actually. That's one of my stock picks. NNE, shout out to you. Very based. Nano-nuclear energy is that one. So I look at this market from many different aspects. They want to roll AI out. They need more energy to do so. They need decentralized systems to handle the data, and the private sector to bolster up government level interest and needs to push this information out to the masses. Did see in the comments as well, Kelly, that a lot of liquidations on longs have happened while we were talking. Do you have the CoinGlass map up here for me?
Yeah, this is a 48-hour. Let's go down to the 12-hour and see. Yeah, so I mean, it's just ping-ponging, taking liquidity until people stop being dum-dums and giving their money to somebody else to buy a boat. It's essentially what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, we looked at this earlier. Where is it? Right here. We're seeing that people have flipped bearish, but we also see the whales have been stacking in. So the problem when you get these sorts of moves to the downside, there's the degen bulls that do see this as a good buying opportunity, but they screw it up by saying this is a good spot, and it might be. By the way, everybody, this is how I lost about $100,000 about 4 years ago. Perfect spot. I entered the trade. I was a dumbass. I had too much of my portfolio allocated to the trade. I did it on 30X. I got liquidated like 1 cent beyond my liquidation, liquidated me. And then the price did go exactly where I projected it to go. But they can see. And it's not just this, guys. It's not just liquidation heat maps. This is some bullshit, bogus data compared to hedge funds, compared to the big money players out there. They're getting data that you can't even imagine and getting it in real time with basically computer infrastructure that's as close to these centralized exchanges as possible so they can see. I mean, they have such more advanced data than you can imagine. So while this is a good framework for the everyday trader, you're not going to say, oh, there's a liquidation zone there, so I'm going to put my leverage spot right below. They see you the second that you do that, which is why, is Wintermute wrong? Is Binance wrong for liquidating people? I mean, I don't know, but it is the case that they are liquidation hunts out there, so be smart.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a baby deer come out of its mom?
No, I've never
I
seen
had
that
a
live.
deer look me in the eyes as I was holding her little hooves, you know.
Well, when like a baby deer it can't even stand on its own 4 feet. It's covered in placenta, right? Okay. This is what the average newbie normie trader, as soon as they press leverage, like 30x, boom, and they're just like going to be eaten alive by the exchange, because that's what the exchange wants. It wants a bunch of baby deer to come and hit leverage, and they just gobble them up. They're there to make money. They're not there to make you money.
And you think everybody else is the same, but when you think you're just a deer out there in the field, there's other deer out there in the field that can absolutely demolish your thoughts of hope and success because you learned a couple lines on a chart.
Oh Lord, I like to trade on 2-bit. I trade on Blowfin, but I also like decentralized exchanges for that. I see one of them popping their head in the chat here. Shout out to you, VDEX. I like not being hunted on there. Been going in and out of trades. I made $600 in and out like a cockroach in like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to stay in and have that giga trade. If I can make 20% move on a small trading bag in one location, another 20% move. I'm happy. I'm a happy camper. You know what I mean?
But Drew, let me ask you real quick.
What?
Because I do a lot of leverage trading. You do a lot of leverage trading.
Mm.
The difference of what I'm talking about here, when people are making a foolish decision, is if you say you're only taking a small percentage of your portfolio, you actually set aside a specific trading amount that you're trading. Now, first off, you're not full porting your entire trading allocation, right?
Right.
And second off, you're not doing it of your larger portfolio. I actively trade, but I do it with a separate account on a specific exchange, and then I have different stuff I'm doing on this other exchange. So that's why we use Blowfin. That's why we use 2Bit. That's why we use a variety, because it helps you partition and also protect your main bag. And when you take wins, always rotate. For me, my rule of thumb is rotate 30% into long-term holding, 30% into my pocket. Yes, out of the market, because why are we doing this unless we want to make some money? And 30% to grow the trading portfolio. That way you're growing on all accounts and not putting everything at risk.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it in framework too. It's because everyone wants to get rich quickly, but the real process is getting rich slowly and protecting your money quickly.
Dude,
right.
Is Deucey, are you still in that 50X? Are you just adding to margin there, bro?
I think we need to have a conversation, Deucey. Yeah. He's scaring the hell out of me. He's scaring the hell out of me. And this is why, like, having the trading bot in our Discord helped me break my, because I am so bullish seeing all the integrations. Now we have Texas buying, all these great things going on. But having a trading quant be like, no, this looks like it's going to break down. I've made a lot of tether out of those trading calls over the past 2 weeks. Very, very grateful for that trading quant that is locked in our Discord actively. And I am I'm enjoying other sides of the equation to make sure that I stay profitable. And please, for the love of God, if you are out there trading, I hope that you are, actively getting interested in DeFi or trading or some form of what crypto can do. Use stop losses. Do not raw dog these things, please. I know the cool influencers will be like, oh no, I don't use stop losses, no problem, I'll get liquidated. It is a problem. If you get liquidated, that money's gone.
And you know why? Please. You know why it's important? Because the cost of not locking in is spending the rest of your life clocking in. So lock in, everybody.
I love it. Matty B, before we send it off, where can people find you, brother? Where's your YouTube channel? When are you going live?
Well, I actually saw someone in your audience is from Winnipeg. I think it was Cash27. That's surprising because I always feel like I'm the only Bitcoiner in Winnipeg, right? So it's always nice to see
They detected the Canadian in the room for sure. There's no
That's right. Every morning at 8 a.m. I do a live stream and we do some TA. And then when there's nothing to talk about, I just ramble on about miscellaneous conspiracy theories and the carnivore diet. Fun stuff.
And you still have a YouTube channel after we went off on the murder bots?
Knock on wood, yeah.
Okay, all right. Shout out to you. Well, it's a beautiful day, guys. It's Tuesday. It is turkey time. Okay, so it's understandable if you want to enjoy time with your loved ones, if you want to focus in on the real wealth in your life, which is your legacy. I ain't going to blame you one bit. I got a lot of business I'm taking care of with my family. We are still going to go live this week every single day except for Thursday, Thanksgiving proper. We're going to be spending the time with our family on that day. But I do implore you guys, if you're getting a little bit verklempt, you're getting a little bit worried about looking at the charts, take a breath. I really, really feel that it is all going to be okay. And make sure to stay safe in these times. Get yourself a cold storage device. Get your crypto into safe locations. And with that, I bid you.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.